is a series that Liesl and I have put together with Lilandi, where we are wanting to, it's a curriculum that we put together called, with regards to themes that we keep talking about in our preschool course. So the main reason we have a series of 9 of them, and as you can see, they're all color-coded, so we hope to make that easier as well for our teachers, because we realize that teachers' time and resources are very limited. And in some small way, we are hoping that this will save you time and money, and then you can become an even more effective teachers. One of our main goals is that they're there to guide you in the beginning, because we realize often when we share with you how to become become a preschool teacher, to suddenly do lesson planning, which if you went to university or to a college, you would be able to put together. You do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these. And here, all of a sudden, we're expecting you to do this after just 6 weeks of lessons. Each of the books are set out in a specific way. So if I just take the first one, so Me and My People, we've ordered them in such a way that they move from the easiest to the most difficult topics. But inside as well, we've also graded the activities. So in the beginning of the year, you know the child's not going to be able to use the scissors, or he's not going to be able to color in between the lines, or he doesn't know all his numbers. So each activity progresses as well, trying to stretch the child, improve their skills, so that by the end of the year, in their specific age group, they would actually have achieved certain outcomes, with the ultimate goal being that the child will then become school ready. We have found that if teachers have used these theme books, that by the time the child goes for his school readiness tests or needs to go for assessments, they actually are more than ready to go to grade 1 with confidence. Each of the theme books are set out in a specific way. We haven't put dates in it. The idea is for you to work through week 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can even work at your own pace. Each week has got a specific theme that you're going to be following, so always keeping structure in mind. Then we tell you what ideas to use for the theme table. As we said at the preschool course, your theme table, which is that table by the door, is unbelievably important, because it makes people realize that you are providing a stimulating environment beyond those doors, and they see, because the theme table keeps changing, they realize that, hey, you know what, something is actually happening inside this preschool. Then we have got 3 songs that relate to the theme, and we also have CDs available that you can buy at 50 Rand a CD, or 60 Rand if it's got the videos with it, where you are teaching them 3 new songs every month. And then at the bottom of each page, and with the theme, if you look, we've got their skills developed throughout this theme. So because this is the beginning of the year, what skills are we looking at? We're looking at communication, sequencing, cutting, gluing, reasoning, socialization, increased vocabulary, counting, shapes, and memorization. So you can see we are starting with very simple, basic steps, because all the time we want the child to feel like a winner. You never want to let a child feel like he's struggling, and you never want to go and take over his work. But if you look, say, from the first one, what we are working with, just gluing and mainly letting the child talk and doing basic sequencing, to the 2 themes that I'm specifically going to deal with today, because I know they're very advanced, and they're normally the ones you will do at the end of the year, kind of come September, October. So we're going to be looking at South Africa and my universe. You can already see the skills that are developed. You can see the rest of the structure is exactly the same. Increased vocabulary and general knowledge, association, estimation, dexterity, spatial perception, pencil control, reasoning, sequencing, counting, memorization. So you can see we've stretch the child a fair bit by the time we come to the two themes on South Africa and on my universe. But I do also realize that many of us do not have time to travel or have time to visit the scenic spots, both in South Africa or even with the universe. I had to do a fair bit of research myself. And I thought, you know what, why not share with you what we have done? Then it means I'm happy with that information. And know by the time I've shared this information with a child under the age of 6, he will be actually, by the time he's done my universe, he's actually done grade 3, grade 4 work. Never underestimate a child and his ability to learn. So these books we are selling at 70 Rand a book, but it's a teacher's manual. So I'm going to specifically, first section, I'm going to talk about South Africa. And the section, I'm going to talk about my universe, hoping now after the intro to just keep it to kind of 15, 20 minutes. And then we've also got, for the other themes, we have got separate videos available, which you can also go and have a look at and get some guidance on how to teach the child that specific theme. The whole idea is we have given you, in the beginning, exactly the lesson plans. And you'll see that all fall out the same way. What day? So Monday, what's your theme? What's your lesson? What's your worksheet? And what do you need when you're going to do the specific worksheet? Then we have included all the worksheets here at the back, so that you then can make photocopies of these. Remember, you're not going to cut this up. This is your reference manual. But you're going to make photocopies or trace them. Each child is going to have their own portfolio file. So every time they have finished that activity is going straight into the portfolio file. As we say at the preschool course, I never send work home during the week for the children. The parents are too busy. They're not focused. They're not going to listen to the child. Rather keep all the work together in a portfolio file. And at the end of the year, at the end of the month, when you're finished with that theme, you can then send the portfolio file home with the child, and the parent's going to look at it and go, wow, look at all these things my child has done. And they'll be able to find time with the child, and the child's always only too happy to share. So for each child, I would reckon maybe have 2 portfolio files, one that's gone home with the child with the previous month's theme, and another one where you're putting the new theme work in that the child has been doing. We would also then, that as each year progresses, if we've done a set of worksheets got to do with numbers, look for another worksheet. You can find coloring in books. Go onto the internet if you've got the privilege of doing that. Do work from, fun to share ideas with another teacher. And then that way, keep changing your activities, but still it's the same activity. You've just got a different picture, or you've made your numbers a little bit more. So let us look first at the theme of South Africa. Now, South Africa, we would have done after we have done me and my body, animals, transport, all things children know all the answers to, my environment. They know about their direct environment. So there we, if you go and listen to that video, you will see which areas we speak about there. Then we look at careers, the different jobs that there's available. Then we do South Africa. Can you see we're moving further and further away from areas that your child knows? And then we're going to go to my universe. And I mean, how many of us know the names of all the planets or what the planets looks like? So we just stretching their horizons. We are stimulating the child all the time to become a questioning person. So looking at South Africa, we have, when we thought about South Africa, we thought, okay, so what do we need to know about South Africa? So first of all, we need to know the national emblem. Secondly, natural resources available in our country. Thirdly, geography. And the fourth thing would be tourism. So those are what we're going to deal with in this month. Ideas for our theme table is looking for books that relate to that theme. We can look at posters. We can find a map. We can find our flag. We can have National Heritage Day. We can find examples of the minerals and the products that we get from those minerals in our country. Agricultural products. Go visit a tourist, these flight centers, and from there get pamphlets and books all about South Africa. So as I said, I would always in my theme table have a chart at the back, or in my classroom have a chart. So we do sell charts, but let's start with my world chart. Where is South Africa in relation to the world? Well, we are way down here. Here's Africa, and there is South Africa. Let's move it a little bit smaller and move towards Africa itself. So now we can, the child, can you see he started with the big picture and gradually he's moving to the smaller picture. So here is Africa. Where is South Africa in relation to South Africa? Here's South Africa. Some of them might have now come from the Congo. Some of them might have come from Nigeria. Some children might come from Zambia or Zimbabwe. And they can find where they are now from where they came from or their parents came from. Once we've found South Africa, we can find the next chart. And the next chart is not just South Africa, but South Africa isn't just one piece of land. It's got different provinces. And we have our different pictures of our different provinces on this chart. So can you see I'm constantly making the child want to question things, wanting to expose him to, oh, Mpumalanga, look at that tree, or Durban, there's a sea, let me go over there. Then once we have shown them the different provinces, remember we said the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sing our national anthem, and we'll be talking about that in as one of our lessons. Here is our national birds, our national flowers, and our national animals, and our national tree. Can you see how everything is gradually starting with the big picture, and then we're going smaller and smaller and smaller, and the child then can start feeling very confident about his knowledge about his country. And we also mentioned another chart that might be good to have is the geography of our country and terms we are using. Now, I would not have all these charts up in my school all the time. When my theme is South Africa, you can bet your bottom dollar, bottom rand, that those are the charts that are going to be up in my classroom, because I'm going to be referring to them all the time. And when this theme is finished, I might leave just one of those charts on, but move the rest of the charts away, then we can focus on the next chart. So those are ideas for our theme table. When we're singing about South Africa, what songs are we going to sing? Well, I've put here, we're going to definitely know our national anthem, and that's where that chart would be nice to have, because you would have the words there the whole time. We're going to be talking about flowers. So I've got a song about flowers. I'm going to be talking about animals. So I've got a song in this one. I've got the 5 little ducks. Or you can talk about 5 little springboks. But I'm teaching the child numbers, and I'm going to be exposing him to different animals. And then our skills developed through this theme is we're going to increase their vocabulary and general knowledge. Well, I'm hoping by the end of me working through this theme, you will have realized, wow, I know so much more about South Africa now. We're going to talk about association. What kind of environment do I associate with Mpumalanga? Or when someone says to me Western Cape, what do I think about? Or someone says to me Limpopo, what trees am I going to find there? What kind of flowers? Where am I going to find the bananas? Which province? What am I going to find in Durban? Can you see how you are going to be stimulating the child the whole time? We're going to work on association, estimation, general dexterity, that is the fine motor movements like Liesel has shown in her previous professional development workshops, spatial perception, so what's in their environment. We're going to be starting to focusing on pencil control, but this is mainly children over the age of 4. sequencing, reasoning, socialization, counting, shape recognition, and memorization. So you can see by the time this month is over, we would have done a fair bit with the child. So first things first, we're looking at national emblems. So which national emblems do we have? Well, we are a country that is totally diverse in our different cultures. We have different people that live in South Africa. We speak different languages. We are all a variety of colors. We have different traditions. And that is why our country is called the Rainbow Nation. It's very apt. We have 11 official languages in South Africa, from the English and Afrikaans, Ndebele, Northern Sotho, Swazi, Zulu, Xhosa. We have Venda and Songa. We all eat different foods. And also, not just within our own country, but also different foods to what people eat in other countries. And especially our biltong, our braafvleis, our pap and our bobotie. If people in England and Australia have no idea what you're talking about. If you talk about a braafvleis, they're like, you got, okay, a barbecue? Yes, now they know what a barbecue is. And what we found with our travels, there are certain sweets that are found in South Africa that you can't find in other countries, like, for example, jelly tots. And who is the current president of South Africa? And then you can talk about past presidents. So can you see in one, now remember, this is one lesson that's going to be only 1 hour long, and you can already see how much work we're going to be covering in just that one lesson, especially if you're allowing child to participate with you. So I've said here in my worksheet, we're going to make a Rainbow Nation collage. So what do we need for this? Well, props needed. You need a magazine, you need your scissors, glue, and paper. And now we're going to look through these magazines, and we're going to find the different pictures that represent the different cultures in our nation. And by the end of the morning, the child would have ended up with a collage that looks like this. And you would have put on the top there, our Rainbow Nation. Can you see that this one activity by itself would have taken you, by the time you'd finished your lesson, which is about 45 minutes to an hour, then you've still got another hour to do your activity. So 2 hours of your day has been planned for. So that would be what we would be doing on the first day. And can you see the child would be able to interact with you because he knows most of the answers we would have shared with them. The second day, and it could be, say, Tuesday, we're going to talk about the national flag and the anthem. Now we're coming a little bit more specific, and we might be talking about things that your child doesn't know. So do you know when the national flag was adopted? What year was it adopted? There are 6 colors on the flag: red, blue, green, white, black, and gold. The official symbol is the Y shape. Do you know why it's a Y shape? Well, it symbolizes that all South Africans are coming together from a divided past and looking towards a united future. Then you can discuss about the flag. Why does a country need a flag? When would we use the flag? And you would be quite surprised at the input that the child will be able to give you. And you know, you sharing information with the child that he then can take home and share with his parents. Can you see the ripple effect that just a little gem you've shared in your classroom can have on a whole environment? Then we can talk about the national anthem. Ours is very special, and it's very different to other countries' ones because it has 5 of the most widely spoken official languages in South Africa: Xhosa, Zulu, Sesotho, Afrikaans, and English. And there again, you can be singing the anthem, and then you can talk to the child and say, why is it important to have a national anthem? So naturally, I'm sure you can guess what activity I'm going to be doing on the second day. We are going to be making our national flag, and you can see the worksheet. I will show it to you at the end of once we finish this week one, but you're going to practice singing the national anthem as well. I would actually today not even start making this, but I would have this available that the child can see what I'm talking about and the different colors that are in my national flag. Then on the next day, we're going to talk about the national emblems. Do you know what our national emblems are yourself? Remember, as we say in the preschool course, a teacher is always learning in every possible way. Well, what are our national emblems? Our bird is the blue crane, or it's called the paradise bird. What does it look like? Have you got a picture of it? Well, if you haven't got one, you can always find one on the chart, or you can go and Google it. What is it called in Xhosa? In Xhosa, it's called an indwe. And why was it called an indwe? Because after a battle, a chief would organize a ceremony for the heroes at which the blue crane feathers would be presented to the men who had done the heroic deeds. And then these men would wear the feathers sticking out of their hair. Now, I didn't know that. I mean, why did they choose a blue crane? Well, now I know. So even I, as a teacher and as an instructor, is also always learning. What is our national fish? It's the galjoen. Now, with us not living by the sea, I'm sure very few of us have ever seen a galjoen, or it's also known as the blackfish, because that's what the fish is. He's almost completely black. What's our national animal? It's the springbok, which is an Afrikaans word, which means a jumping buck. What does it look like? Have you got your pictures? Have you made your charts? Where would you find it? Why did they choose that specific animal as our national animal? And then what is our national flower? Well, I'm sure most of you know that it's the protea. What does it look like? It's a nice big hardy plant. They grow in shrubs, and especially they've got these red and beautiful pink colors in the summer. And then on that day, you're going to do worksheet 1, which shows the national animals in South Africa. So worksheet 1 in your workbook would look like that. So now you can make photocopies, or you can give it to the child, but then you're going to have the child color it in the correct colors. And by the time a child is 5, 6, they should be able to color in within the lines. But as you can see, it's not a mixture of too many colors. So we still allowing little errors to come in with the child going over the lines. So that would be worksheet 1 that they would have done after we have spoken about the national animals, and that would go into their portfolio file. Then the next day we're going to talk national sports. Do you know what our national sports are? Well, we have 3 specific national sports. We've got soccer, we have got rugby, and we have got cricket. Who is our national soccer team? Well, Bafana Bafana, which means the boys. What does their uniform look like? Where would they play? How many people are in the game? You don't have to go into like heavy detail, like what's their positions on the fields, but just that the child's able to say, oh, this is the difference between soccer and rugby and cricket. He's hearing the words. With you explaining them, he's understanding the words, and he's going to be able to use the words in the correct way when he has a conversation with different people. What do the balls look like? Do the balls look the same? Do the balls look different? I would have examples of the balls available for the children to see and to play with. And this is where, can you see, I'm trying to use different senses the whole time. One day I'm going to use the sense of sight and hearing when we sing the national anthem. Another day I would use the senses of smelling, because you could actually bring with the emblems, you could bring in the protea flower. Then I could also bring in here the sense of movement and their hands and their feet, because they're now feeling and touching the ball. Constantly changing the teaching method, but also constantly changing the environment and that the child is in, so it becomes exciting for him to come to school. You can also talk about how they would play the game. So today I definitely would be making more on an activity day. But we've also said do worksheet 2 today. So what is worksheet 2? To just bring all the thoughts together. Well, what have we done? We have found the different sports and different equipment that they would use with the different sports, and to draw lines between the person and the equipment they would be using, and using different colors. I'm teaching the child colors, and I'm teaching them coordination. So that would also go into their little file. Then on Friday, remember, we always recommend do an activity to bring all of these things together that will again reinforce what you've taught with the child. And this day I would then, Friday, the child will go home with making a national flag. Make your own examples so that the child can just copy it. We have this as a template in your book so that the child can practice tracing, and they can also then do sequencing, because they've got to put the things at the correct places, and they have got to put the colors at the correct places as well. So this activity, I reckon, will take a child up to 2 hours to do. You can use sand art. I've used different textures on this to do my flag. You can just use plain colored paper. I would expect a child age 5 to 6 to be able to do this by themselves. But now if I'm using the same theme book for my younger children, I would have cut out all the shapes, and I would have had that ready. So all the child needs to do is stick the shape at the correct place on the template. Because a child age 3 and 4, early 4s, cannot cut out yet. So how are they going to get so frustrated? And you're going to get so frustrated because they're going to be messing up all your material. So that's week 1 when we've talked about South Africa. Can you see you already have a much broader idea of this absolutely beautiful country that we live in? Now we're going to become a little bit more specific, because we've given a nice foundation for the child. So our country is also very rich in natural resources. So we are going to, on Monday, what do children see the most? Do they see the minerals? Do they see the flora? Do they see the fauna? What would they be able to speak to us about the most? Well, fauna, I would start, we say Monday, let's start with fauna. Fauna means animals. And did you know in South Africa, we have got the biggest variety of indigenous animals and birds than any other country in the world. You go to Australia and you say to them, well, what animals? Well, we've got the kangaroo, the koala, and you're kind of like, oh, those are the only 2 animals you're going to see? We can talk about elephants and rhino and buck. So your next chart here is going to be the wild animals that we find in South Africa. I do have all of these charts available, and I know they are available in the shops, but you are really welcome. We have them all here at our center in Kempton Park. So you're very welcome to pop around now that we're allowed to travel a little bit more, and come and see what charts we have showing the different wild animals that are in South Africa. We can talk about, the different wild animals. Then we can talk about our safari parks, and where you can go and see these animals. Where do we have them? The Kruger National is one of the most famous ones in the world. We've got the Pilanesberg just near Rustenburg. Then you have a whole variety of ones going all the way down to Cape Town. And I would also here now bring in lessons, moral lessons that teach the child values, because what's one of the biggest challenges we have with our animals is they are being hunted and they are being killed for their fur and for their horns. And so we can talk about protection that we need to bring in for our animals. And we need to talk about the big 5 that we find in South Africa. What worksheet are we going to do? Well, we are going to color in a giraffe. But can you see there are 2 pictures on top of one another here? And it's to teach the child spatial awareness. He's got to be able to distinguish where the shape of the giraffe is over and above the shape of the horse. Very important for this age group, for age 4 to 5, for a child to be able to do that. A simple picture like that can show you a lot of a child's understanding. The next day, we're going to talk about the flora. Flora now means flowers, and all our different flowers that we have in South Africa. And we've got different types of flowers. We have got the hardy ones that you find, that's like got the fat, we call them vet planten in Afrikaans, but they've got fat leaves, and they've got lots of liquid in, like your aloes, that you can find around. We've also got the tiny little flowers that grow in the desert regions, like our Namaqualand daisies. We have indigenous trees that also, like our baobabs. We have the thorn trees. You can just identify one or two of them. And especially one big thing that we know about South Africa is a lot of our fauna and a lot of our flora has medicinal value. So your eucalyptus, your tea tree, you can just have a few of those oils available in your classroom for the child to smell. And that day, we're going to let them do a worksheet on a flower, because that's what we're talking about. But we're doing numbers, and they are just joining the numbers. So we're teaching them numbers. We taught them colors, we've taught them spatial awareness. Now we are teaching them numbers, and again, it's coloring in. Children do not want to color in, color in, color in, color in every single day. They do want variety as well, just as much as you want to have variety in your life. So Monday we spoke about the animals, Tuesday we spoke about the flowers. Now we're going to talk about our agriculture. Also, our country is, because we've got such a variety of climates and such a variety of soils, we also have a massive variety of agriculture. So we have wheat, maize, sugarcane, fruit farms. So you can talk about the different types of crops that we find in South Africa. But we can also talk about the different kinds of animals. We have sheep farmers, we have cattle farmers, we have pig farmers, we have fish farmers in our country. It is unbelievably diverse. And you can just remember, this is all in 1 hour that you are just sharing all this information. So you want to keep it simple, but you're wanting to let the child associate so many of the things that he could possibly see, or that he's wearing. Oh, I'm wearing a woolen jersey. Well, where does it come from? It comes from a sheep, which comes from a sheep farmer. Just little things like that, that makes them question why even in our clothes they be different, or our food, things are different. Now we're going to give them worksheet 6, which shows the differences. So they have got, again, remember I'm talking about agriculture. So here I have got pictures of fruit, and the bottom one I've got pictures of milk and cheese. And the child must identify the differences between the pictures and then circle them. Remember, the child's got to find the differences, not you finding them for the child. It shows perception, but a very good worksheet to have. Now, again, you see, it's not specifically having to always be just South Africa fruit or vegetables, but it must go with the topic you are specifically speaking about that day. So I'm not speaking about cars or transport here, so I needed to find the pictures that had anything to do with agriculture. We would then, the next day, we would talk about the minerals we find in South Africa. Now, again, can you see what a beautiful country we live in? We have a whole variety of minerals. Well, where do you find minerals? You find them underground. So your child now needs to, you can just quickly talk about mining, but they need to, by the end of today, understand words like gold and coal and platinum and copper and iron and diamonds. And if possible, know what the differences are between them. Then you can talk about a mine and going underground, which is different to farming on top of the ground. Can you see the words I'm using, the terminology? The whole time I'm unconsciously exposing the child to different vocabulary, which he then, with constant repetition, will use in different contexts. We can also talk about what we're going to use these minerals for. Be used for jewelry, and diamonds can also be used in jewelry and in necklaces. We can talk about copper being used in pipes and iron in our pots. That none of us are going to make gold pots. So you want the child to be able to understand where is the correct place you're going to use that mineral. And then when they go home, they'll be able to say, oh, that's a pot. It's not a silver pot, it's a metal pot. It's not a gold pot. They are using the correct words in the correct context. And what would I do here again? Well, I would do a collage. What do I need for a collage? Magazine. And I would then ask the child to get me all kinds of pictures that have to do with minerals. And here you can see we've got our gold, we've got our silver, we've got our diamond, we've got our metals, we've got our iron, and we've got our copper. We've taught the child by them just doing this. We've taught them association. We have taught them application. We have taught them cutting. We have taught them how to stick things down on a page as well. Again, this activity should take you, by the time you've done your lesson and you have allowed the child to get the magazine and cutting out and pasting, you should have had a good 2 hours that you were busy with the child. And then on the Friday, let's make a craft again. So our first one, we did the national flag. So we had cutting out papers and coloring in or doing sand art. So now I would suggest here, let's make a flower. Now, we don't all have wool. I mean, wool's unbelievably expensive at the moment, but we all have plastic packets lying around. Checkers packets, Pick and Pay packets. So you cut it into strips like this so that it looks like wool. Then you cut 2 circles, a big circle and a small circle, and you make a slit, and you do 2 of them together. And then you take these and you thread them around and around and around this till it's nice and full. Make a knot on the middle, cut the edges, and you've made a pom-pom flower, because you can now attach that to a stick and the child has made their own flower. This one we made out of a Checkers packet. We made a bigger one out of a Pick and Pay packet. It all depends on how big you make the circle. So the bigger you want your pom-pom to be, the bigger you need to cut out the circle. This takes a lot. It's threading. So it's a really, really good activity for children to use, but it does take quite a long time. So you're going to be doing that almost all day. But you know who's going to be cutting out all of these? The teacher the night before. You're not going to start cutting them out in your classroom, please. So that's week 1 and week 2. Now, we're going to come to the geography of our land. And again, our country has everything. We just live in the most beautiful country. So remember the chart on the provinces? So first of all, we will talk about our 9 different provinces that we have in South Africa. Where are they situated? What do you get to see in those different provinces? And there's 2 countries within South Africa, Swaziland and Lesotho. They are not provinces. Can you see the child's going to know the difference between the word a province and the word a country? Here we will then do worksheet 7, where we will ask the child to color in the 9 different provinces at the correct places. And as we color them in, we will talk, oh, that's Western Cape, that's Northern Cape. Oh, there's tiny little Gauteng, there's Limpopo, there's Mpumalanga. And you yourself will get a really good idea of where our 9 different provinces are in our country by the time you have finished with that activity. Most people would only get their children to do that activity when they are in grade 3 and grade 4. I'm saying to you, why don't you do it before the child is 6? You are building a massive foundation. So by the time he is in grade 3 and grade 4, he's going to be the cleverest kid in the class. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different geographical things that we find in our country. So first of all, we find mountains. Did you know what the names are of our different mountains? This is grade 5 work, but use them that the child can hear them. So we have the Drakensberg. Most people know about the Drakensberg. Which province do you find it in? Well, we spoke about provinces the day before. We're going to find them in KwaZulu-Natal. What mountains do you find? You find the Cedarberg in Western Cape. What mountain is the most famous mountain in the world that's actually part of this Cedarberg mountain range? Well, the flat-topped one, Table Mountain. You find the Outeniqua Mountains, which is also in Western Cape. The Swartberg Mountains, also Western Cape. Then you get the Waterberg Mountains, which are in Limpopo, and you get the Magaliesberg, which are in Northwest and in Gauteng. Did you know there were so many mountain ranges? This is, you know, I don't expect a child to remember the names of all these mountain ranges by the time I finish this lesson. But you've exposed the child to those words. So one day he hears the word Drakensberg, he's going to know, oh, I heard about that. Why is it a berg? Well, berg means mountain. What am I going to do today with this activity? Well, this is quite an advanced activity. And it looks like that. And we are going to make a mountain with this. So you can see they are all different shapes, and we're going to want the child to order them or sequence them so that they make a mountain. So they're not going to start by sticking the smallest one at the bottom. So that by the time the child is finished with that activity, he's going to have, and because we are more intellectually advanced, we realize that those different lines are contour lines. Words he's going to hear in grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9. But we are teaching it to them while they are younger than 6. And I really would like you to do that. Then we're going to talk mountains. Now we're going to come to rivers and dams. We have our most, what are the most famous rivers in South Africa? Well, we've got the Limpopo River, the Orange River, and the Vaal River. Do you know where they are? Which dams do they feed? What makes a river, and a mountain, and a dam, a dam? The child doesn't want you to go into essays. He wants one single sentence that he can attach to each one of those words. And here specifically, remember we talked about always trying to teach a child values and morals. I would start talking about pollution, because that's one of the biggest problems we have in South Africa, is the pollution of the rivers and the pollution of the dams. So here, what is the shape of a river? What does it look like? Well, I would do worksheet 9. I'm going to try and encourage a child. We normally let a child just cut along a straight line. Now I'm going to give him a line that looks like a river, and he is going to cut that out for me. Very, very difficult for a child age 5 and 6. I'm actually finding many adults don't know how to cut on the line and a simple wavy shape like that. So those are our different rivers we have in our country, and that would be the activity, and that worksheet would then go into their file. And then we also have our different capital cities in our country. Did you know that we had more than one? Well, we actually have 3. We have Bloemfontein in the middle of the country. We have Cape Town down by the sea, and we have Pretoria up here by us. The administrative capital, Pretoria, the judicial capital in Bloemfontein, that's the legal capital, and Cape Town is our legislative capital, which is the law city, where they make all our laws with Parliament. So what are, you know, you can on this day now again reinforce the different provinces, because each one of those falls into a different province. So again, you can do revision as such, talking about these different cities. And then activities, I would have pictures of those different cities, because each one of them looks distinctly different. But then for the child, you know, a city, what is one thing you always associate with a city is you can see the city skyline. So my activity here is where I would have a skyline. You can see my tall buildings and my houses, but I'm teaching them shapes, and I'm teaching them colors, and I'm teaching them ordering, because you're not going to have a circle at the bottom. And So first thing you're going to do with this activity is you're going to color each one of those shapes a different color. And then you're going to tell the child, everywhere where you see a rectangle, you color it that color. Every time you see a triangle, you're going to color it red. A square, you're going to color yellow. And a circle, you're going to color in green. And they're going to color, I normally encourage children to color in with crayons because it's nice and dark. But you also need to buy good quality crayons. Otherwise, your child's going to get very, very frustrated because some of them become really kind of white. And then what activity are we going to do here? Well, you need to you'll see, we've said that you're going to make South Africa. So what do I need? South Africa is known as an upside down saucer. So you need a saucer, you need Play-Doh, and you need different things. I've chosen buttons to make the country of South Africa. Then you're going to give the child a saucer, and this is kind of what the activity is going to look like at the end. I've made the sea all around the bottom. I've put in my mountains. I could even put in another mountain here at the top by Limpopo, the water mountains. And then we're going to put in our different towns. So I've got little buttons. Well, let's get ones. Which town do I live in? Or I live near Pretoria. So yeah, we're going to put that there. Where's Bloemfontein? Well, that's in the middle of our country. And where is Cape Town? It's down here at the bottom of the mountains near the sea. And just by them making this with Play-Doh, they've used the senses of their hands, they've got perception, they've got spatial awareness, they can feel, they can now actually see and feel what a mountain looks like and what the sea is. You can draw in your rivers. And depending on the abilities of the child, you can make this quite an advanced activity, trying to bring in all the different things that you have taught them through this week. But all you need is some nice Play-Doh, and in our preschool course manuals, we have the menus to make some Play-Doh and keep it in plastic packets. You know what? It lasts you forever. Then the last week, we're going to talk about places to visit. So when you go and visit places, it's called tourism. So we're going to talk about what is tourism. Who is a tourist? Did you know what a group of tourists is called? It's called a flock. I used to think it was called a group, but I discovered the other day that it's called a flock. Why do we need tourism? How does it help our country when there's tourists? I mean, just with lockdown, we are hearing about all the hotels that are suffering, the Airbnbs, the different tourist places which used to make an income there, the ladies that used to sell products at those different waterfalls and dams cannot sell their products anymore. So it's had massive repercussions in our country. And then we can let them, we can talk about which people would come to South Africa, from which countries they would come, why they would come, and what do you normally see? How do you know who's a tourist? Well, they've got a rucksack on the back and a camera in their hand because they're wanting to remember their holiday. So what worksheets am I going to do here? Well, I'm going to do a worksheet on shapes and matching, because I want to come and see, I've seen a picture. So this is the idea behind it. I've seen a picture of Table Mountain. I want to visit Table Mountain. This is abstract, but it is association through what the child has by the time he's finished this activity. And then if you use the word association or what is like this picture, they will know what you are talking about. Then the next thing is where these people would come and visit. Well, they could visit our game parks. We've already referred to our game parks. Why is a game park called a game park? How do you know a game park is a game park? Because of the big fences. They have normally an entrance fee that you've got to pay when you go inside there. You normally have special accommodation. You can go on safari drives. So what would they see inside a game park? So can you see, we had spoken about the wild animals a few weeks before. Now we can bring that in again, and the child can talk back to us. They can share what animals are their favorite animals that they would see at the game park. And again, remember we spoke about poaching. Now we can again speak about poaching. Why do we need the game parks? Why do we need to keep the animals safe? And this is now our way of keeping them safe. This day I would do my next worksheet, and we've said on this worksheet, color all the animals in that have got 4 legs. So I'm teaching the concept of numbers, and I'm teaching them that an animal that has got 4 legs isn't necessarily just a specific shape. They can be all different kinds of shapes. So the child will color in that worksheet. Again, you can see there is a fair bit of coloring in that does happen, but it's necessary because you can teach so many concepts with coloring in, and a child does need to learn how to do pencil control. And other than, I mean, at this age, I really don't want a child to write out his name 100 times or write out numbers 100 times, but you can teach them pencil control through coloring in their pictures. The next day we can talk about theme parks. So this is where they can go for fun rides. We've got Gold Reef City up here in Johannesburg. Most of your big capital cities would have a theme park which people could visit. Durban has got Ushaka. Cape Town used to have Ratanga, but now they don't have that anymore. So you need to also be aware of how things change, because you can't teach a child and create expectations and then they go to Cape Town and there's no more Ratanga Junction. And what do you associate with theme parks? Well, normally it's crisps and lots of sweets and ice cream. So what activity we're going to do? We're going to have our little boy and a maze having to find his ice cream. Now, you can use this in this year. Next year, you could find a similar picture where he's, but always a maze for this specific activity. So that at least you know you're still going to have the same outcomes by the end of this theme. And then we can talk about our different museums that's available in South Africa. We have got science museums, we have got culture museums, we have got archaeological museums. What makes a museum a museum? And why do we have museums? Why would you want to go and visit a museum? They're there to help you to increase the understanding and education of a child, where they can come and touch and see and feel things that you've just spoken about. So I would really recommend an outing in this time period and with this theme to a museum. And we've really got some nice museums in Johannesburg and Pretoria. You can even go to the Apartheid Museum, you can go to the Voortrekker Museum, both teaching you the history of the 2 different cultures in South Africa. Johannesburg has also got the Museum of Science and Technology. And then you now need to do an activity for this day. So what activity would I do? Well, worksheet 14, we found a picture of an old picture which we would get the child to color in. Then they cut it out along the lines. We mix up the picture, and then they've got to put the puzzle together in the correct order on another piece of paper. So we've taught them coloring in, we've taught them colors, we've taught them sequencing, and we've exposed them to a picture of an old picture, which very few of us have in our homes, but they would see it at a museum. So my activity still has to do with what I taught the child that day. And then what will I do on the Friday? Well, I would suggest you make a little elephant card. Remember we talked about wildlife and tourists that are going to come. Well, what do tourists want? They want to take something home. So now you can make your own. What do I need to make my own little card? You just need a piece of cardboard and a little string, and then these old-fashioned stamp pads, because what's the child going to do? And we do give the instructions in the book. He's going to take his thumbprint and make a thumbprint. He's going to take his second finger and make 2 ears, and then he's going to take his pinky, and in the middle he's going to put the head, and then you're going to just stick the tail on. And then the child has got a cute little card that says, welcome to South Africa, and he can go and give that to a tourist, but this will go into his manual. So you can see by the end of this month, with the manual that we have shared with you just on South Africa, the child is going to go home with a folder that has got all these activities plus his collages in it. He's going home with the national flag. He's going to be going home with the pom-pom. He's going to have his card, and he is going to go home to, oops, I don't want to let this fall. He's going to have his landscape that is made out of Play-Doh. And all we have done is followed, well, what we've tried to share with you in our theme book on South Africa. Do you think your parents are going to be impressed with you? I can tell you that I, as a mother, would be superbly impressed if my child came home with all those activities. So that's what I wanted to share with you about South Africa. Now, I also would like to share with you about my universe. Now, I'm not too sure if you'd like me to go on now, if you would like us to rather do another call tomorrow, because I would also like to do the My Universe one as thoroughly as I have done the one on South Africa, because I realize a lot of the terminology and the things we share in this is quite, it's a lot of research that you have to do. We have, as I say, these manuals available here at home, and I have got these sample worksheets so you can see what the child is working to. I think what I'll do is I'm going to carry on, but I'm going to do the universe a little bit easier than and faster than what I did my geography, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. I'm seeing a few people are saying, yeah, no, they'd rather let me carry on. So my universe is the last topic. So I'm going to finish by 11:30. I'm sure that all of you have got a cup of tea you want to go and have or start lunch. So my universe, same structure again. Very few people know about our universe. They know about the stars and the moon, but nothing else. So what are we going to look at? Week 1, we're going to look at our solar system. Week 2, we're still going to be talking about our solar system. So my theme for the month is my universe. My theme for week 1 and 2 is our solar system. Week 3 is going to be the Earth. And week 4 is going to be Africa. And can you see, after we've just done the theme on South Africa, the children are going to be able to share a lot of information with us when we talk about Africa, and you end the year off on a highlight. You make the child feel like an absolute winner. Again, what would I have on my theme table? I would have my charts, definitely some different books, but here specifically, I would find a globe of the world that I can put on my theme table, because that's very unique to this specific theme. We have our 3 different songs that we're singing: the planets around the sun, a song about water, and then a song about Jesus loves the little children of the world. What skills are we developing? Now, can you see how from what we did in Me and My Body to what we're doing here? Pencil control, creative thinking and abilities, pattern recognition, scissors control, shape recognition, increased vocabulary and general knowledge, reasoning, counting, phonics, and general dexterity. And these are all words that you can use on your report cards. They are massively big words. Your parents are going to read these report cards and they're going to go, wow, this teacher is super clever. Just look at the words she's using. And then they're going to feel they need to come to your school as well. So let us have a look. Now, week 1, we are going to speak about our solar system. Do you know why our solar system is called a solar system? So first of all, on Monday, we're going to give a big overview. What is the solar system? That's dwarf planets, moons. The information is all over here. So you just literally need to be able to read it like I am reading it to you now as well. But the responsibility with you will be to look for flashcards and charts to make it even more interesting than just words coming out of your mouth. Remember, a child is a visual learner. we are all visual learners. So the more pictures you have, the more a child will remember. So if you can use his eyes, you can use his ears, and you can use sounds and touching with his hands, the more you can incorporate all those different senses, the more the child will remember. And then here, that day, I would also say the Earth is the third planet from our sun in the solar system. And how do the planets? Well, we talk that they orbit around the sun and they have spiral shapes. So worksheet number 1, we are going to practice spiral shapes. Sticking to a line, sticking between the lines. Can you see these are all things when they go to school, how they need to learn how to read and to write. Then we're going to talk about our different planets that are available, that are in our solar system and why they are so different. So I'm not specifically going to go to each one of them, but with each activity, the child will know what the difference is. So our first planet is Mercury. It's the closest one to the sun. It's very hot, so you're not going to see trees and water. You're going to just see one color, and that is like a very red color. The next day, we're going to talk about Venus. So Venus is the second planet from the sun. Is also a very hot planet, but it's covered with these little white clouds, which are actually sulfuric acid clouds. They are very, very poisonous. But Venus has got another name. In the Bible, we read about the evening star. And it's also the first star you see at nighttime. Can you imagine the child going home that night, and then at night they see, oh, there's a star. Mom, that's Venus. That's the evening star. Wow, your parents are going to be so impressed. Then we said Earth is the third planet from the sun, neither too hot, neither too cold. We have water and we have got land. Can you see here, my activity is done with a mosaic. I'm changing each activity. Here it was coloring in and finding the cotton wool. This one was painting. So I'm using all different types of textiles to do my products. Then the fourth planet, Mars, is also known as the red planet. There's a whole lot of information that we share with you in this manual. Mars has got 2 tiny moons. What does the surface of the moon of Mars look like? Well, it's dry, it's rocky, and it's mainly covered with dust. So what have I used here? I'm using glue and I'm using sand, and I'm letting the child create a picture according to the words I am using. Then that would have been by Friday. And now we have got these all in the child's folder. Then come Monday, we're going to talk to the child about Jupiter. What makes Jupiter Jupiter? Well, it's the largest planet in our solar system. What's a carrot? It has got a red dot. Did you know it's got a red dot? Do you know what that red dot is? No, it's not ink that's spilt. It is a storm that's happening there the whole time. It's mainly made of gas. And it is the third brightest object that we see in the sky at night. The moon is the brightest, then Venus is the second, and the third one is Jupiter. And where did Jupiter get its name? Well, after a Roman god called Jupiter. The next planet is called Saturn, and Saturn is very well known because of the rings it has got all around it. What is it made of? It's more gas than what it's a solid. How many moons has it got? Did you know Saturn had 33 moons? That was up to 2004. It might even have more now. Then Uranus, can you see how each one of these planets are different? And this is wool that we have let the child put glue on, and then he has to have, with coordination, eye, hand, and finger control, actually stick the wool on there. Then you have Uranus, looks a little bit different to Saturn. Why did I color it in blue? While it's starting to get colder and colder there. It's only got 5 moons, and the blue, it's actually got a blue color when you look at it through the telescope. Wednesday, they're going to look at Neptune.
This one's the 8th planet. It's a big, cold planet, lots of winds, got 8 moons. Where did it get its name? And this activity, there's numbers underneath each one of these. Again, in the beginning, you let the child, number 1, dark blue, number 2, light blue, 3, turquoise, number 4 is green. And the child has got to color in a specific area according to the number that is over there. And then the last planet is Pluto. It's really small. It's the furthest away from the sun. What is it made of? Why is it so cold? And what we've done here is we've done pencil shaving. So you shave a pencil, you sharpen a pencil, and the child colors it in with his finger. Can you see we have used a variety of skills in the child to color in the different planets? And then each planet, as you can see, looks different. So the child is going to remember them. And because you've used the specific colors and the correct colors, the child is going to be, he's going to remember this. I know every time I've done this activity with especially a 5 and a 6-year-old, they know the names of their planets, and especially if you're singing that song that we shared with you, they will know the planets in their universe by the time they have colored in all of these different planets. What activity are we going to do? Well, you know how you can use a vegetable to cut out a shape on it. So I've got an example in here. So I've taken a potato and we've cut a heart out of it. Well, I would cut a circle out of it on a long piece of paper. This is now Friday, remember, none of us wants to teach, but we want to do reinforcement. We're not just going to sit and watch TV. Then we would draw the sun. And then remember we did our lines to show that the different planets are orbiting around the sun. So we draw our different lines. And then with the potato stamp, the child would get the specific color of paint and just stamp the different planets and the different sizes. Now they have got their folders as reference work, so they know that they can make these look like the lessons that they have just learned, and they can go home with the whole what we call a planisphere and talk to their parents about the different planets that's up there in the sky. I know the children, once they've done these lessons, they remember them forever and ever. Then the last 2 weeks, you're going to start moving to, we did the planets. Now we're going to just look at planet Earth. What do we find on planet Earth? Well, we find water, air, and we find land. So we are going to, Monday, we're going to talk about why our air is safe and other isn't. We're going to talk Tuesday about our water and the importance of water in life and where we use water. Would you drink any kind of water? Does water taste different? Anything to do with water. So Monday, because we are talking about the planets, we're going to let the children do a worksheet on spheres, coloring in circular shapes. Then Tuesday, because we're talking about water, water starts with a W. We start talking about letters in the alphabet, and they've got to color in the different pictures because they all start with a W. Whistle, watermelon, and a whale. Then what else do we find on the earth that's unique? We find the earth, we find land where we can live. And on that day, we're going to do worksheet 13. So you're going to talk about the different kinds of lands, the different kinds of soils you're going to get, the different formations that they get. And can you see, we've spoken about this when we spoke about South Africa, the mountains, the valleys, and the hills. Now, we're going to have these cutting lines. Remember with the river one, we let them cut. Here we've got different kinds of wavy shapes again. This is an unbelievably important skill for children to learn, is how to cut out on wavy lines and to cut out on lines. So we do try and bring that in with every theme within every month. Very important to bring in, and not just cutting out on straight lines. And then Thursday, we're going to talk about the air, what makes air poisonous, what makes air, what is in the air. It's carbon dioxide and it's oxygen. What is the difference between carbon dioxide and oxygen? Where would you use air? What would happen if we didn't have air? And then the child is also here, especially with land, water, and air. I would be talking about pollution, pollution, pollution all the time, because it is something which a child can control, and it creates an awareness in them which can then just create a better world for all of us. So this day, what do we do? Again, can you see I'm always bringing in colors, numbers, and shapes. So here again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've put now, but now I've put little dots, and they've got to know number 1 is 1 dot. Number 2 is 2 dots. Number 3 is 3 dots. Where in the previous coloring number activity, I had a number and a number, and it was easy to see the corresponding numbers. Now they've got to associate something. So a little bit more advanced, and they've got to color in the specific color and identify the specific number. And what would we do on this day? On Friday, well, we would have our 3 different bottles representing the different things we spoke about, land, air, and water. And I would then give the child a magazine and ask them to find pictures that have to do something on land, something to do with air, and something to do with water. So always reinforcing the concepts I've taught, using magazines, association, making sure a child understands what I have spoken to them about. And they can go home with those 3 bottles. And you know, I have had children that have kept those bottles for months because it had so much value to them to look for those pictures. And then the last week, we're going to talk about our continent, just Africa on this whole earth. And because we had just spoken to the children about South Africa the month before, yeah, they can really chat to us a fair bit. We can talk firstly on Monday. We can look at the whole of Africa, the different desert areas, where the equator is, what kind of trees would you get there in the forest, where's the Congo, where's Egypt, where's Malawi, where's our different seas, what are they called, especially on Africa, our Atlantic and our Indian Ocean. So, and this day we're going to do a worksheet that the child can identify the shape of Africa. And now can you see my numbers have gone up a fair bit. Where I normally only went to 10, maybe in the first few months, then I went to 12, then to 15. I've now pushed the child up to number 32 on this picture. So they are starting to identify the numbers and be able to sequence the numbers in the correct order. And they're getting disciplined. They're realizing, oh, I can't just go from that dot to that dot to that dot to that dot. I actually have to follow a specific sequence. So that's what we would speak about on Monday when we're talking about our continent. On Tuesday, I would again now talk about the different cultures. So the child would be able to speak to you a lot about the cultures we find in South Africa, because we've already done that. But now we can talk about the cultures in Zimbabwe with the Shona and the Zambia and the Congolese and Angola, Malawi, Mozambique. We're expanding their knowledge. We're bringing in new words into their vocabularies. Then we're going to talk on, so here we're going to do worksheet 16, which is patterns. And then we ask them to complete the pattern or the sequence. So it was a square, a circle, a square, a circle. So they've got to draw the last one in depending on what that pattern was. Then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about the different animals, but not necessarily just in South Africa, all around Africa, where you find all these different kinds of animals. And then on Thursday, we're going to talk about tourist spots, and the child will know what we're speaking about because we've already spoken about tourists, but now we're looking at things they're going to find in Africa, the different waterfalls, the highest mountains, the pyramids, different cities, and different landscapes. And these are also in our workbook for you to associate and to help you, give you guidance as well. And the last thing, on the Friday, we're going to do a craft. And here I would suggest we do a paper animal craft that they can do where you use paper plates, and they can have either a rhino or an elephant. And even if they want to do a frog, here we've given you, and we give you all the instructions in the worksheet. So, you know, I'm hoping I've given you an idea of what are in these theme books, the value that you will get, how they can assist you in your teaching, giving you guidance so that you don't have to feel overwhelmed when you are educating the child, but you know, I'm confident what I can do is I'm totally capable of doing. I'm giving you the workbooks that you can follow them, know that it's structured teaching, and at the end of the day, it'll make you appear and be more professional, which will allow, make your workday more productive, and it will make those profit margins from your parents that are paying your school fees because they realize education is happening a lot more good for lining the pockets and assisting you to enjoy teaching as well. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day further. Bye.